Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 21 of the How to Become a Doctor podcast. So, if you haven't tuned in yet, you can check our first 20 episodes out on our LSU Phase YouTube channel. And Phase is Pre-Health Advising, Support, and Education. But you hear enough from me. We do have some special guests here from the Western Atlantic University School of Medicine who are going to be able to share a lot about their school. I have Brad Schmidt and also Dr. Paula Wales, and I'm going to give them the floor here to introduce themselves and to share a little bit about their role at their school.
Sure. I'll go first, and then we'll bring Dr. Wales on as well. But hi, everybody. My name is Brad Schmidt. I am our director of recruitment here at WASUM. So instead of saying Western Atlantic University School of Medicine every single time, you can just say WASUM. It's a lot easier.
Awesome. Great.
I oversee our recruitment. You're gonna probably see me at your fairs or your conferences or speaking in front of some pre-med clubs as well. But I also do a lot of the admin work, so I'll do the interviews as well. So if you're going to be applying from Louisiana, you will get me as your interviewer for admissions here. So
Awesome.
I'm happy to be here, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Wales here.
Thank you, Brad. Hello, everyone. My name is Paula Wales. I'm the Executive Dean, Chief Academic Officer, and a Professor of Medical Education at Western Atlantic University School of Medicine. I have kind of a unique background because I started at the Indiana University School of Medicine, which is the largest medical school in the US and arguably the most complex because it has 9 geographically separated campuses. From IU, I went to Ross University School of Medicine, which is a very large medical school. And then from there, I started the Nova Southeastern University MD program. There had been a DO program historically on that campus, but I started the MD program. And then I was recruited to WASUM to start this new MD program. So I've been at a large public school, a very large international school, a small private US school, and now a small private international school. So there aren't many questions you can ask that I won't be able to at least have some familiarity. And it's a pleasure to be here today. Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah, thank you guys for just joining us. And, we'd love to hear more about your school. I just want to kind of start, maybe just start with, I know you guys are newer, right? So why don't you just start with, how long has WASM been around? We'll just start there.
So, Brad, would you like me to take that?
Sure, please.
Okay. So WASM we started our very first class in January of 2022. So we have 3 starts a year. So we started a class in January 22, May of 22, and then September of 22. And we've done that same thing in 2023. So we've actually started 6 classes now. So that's slightly different than how most US schools work, where there's 1 start a year and 2 semesters.
Awesome, great. Yeah, six classes. It's awesome. So you guys are excited about that, and get a little breather till the next time around. Well, y'all don't like your breathers with that many entries, but why don't you just share a little bit about the campus settings, where you guys located, and what does the campus demographics look like?
Brad, would you like to go on this one?
Sure, I can start that. So our campus is located in beautiful Freeport, Bahamas, where students will start their pre-clerkship for the first 20 months. And then after completing 5 terms there, they will then make their way back to the United States for their 3rd and 4th year clinical rotations, both in clerkship and then also their electives as well. And so campus life is it's a little unique than obviously maybe being in Louisiana. Now, the nice thing is you still are surrounded somewhat by an ocean.
There's beaches. We don't have beaches here. We have swamps. So
yeah,
you can get seafood.
There is true. The food is great. The weather is high of 80, low of 70 all year round. The atmosphere is really great. It's quiet. There's not a Starbucks in every corner like there is in most cases, which is probably a good thing. But there's enough to do. There's whatever the students need outside of their medical education for their mental health, whether it's working out or watching movies or going to eat dinner somewhere that overlooks the ocean. They have that to supplement their mental health also with their studying. So I believe it's a great learning environment. We have small class sizes. We just had our largest class in history, and we had 50 students. And we're not going to get much bigger. And Dr. Wales will talk more about the curriculum and why we're small. But it's just really a great place to study medicine. And let's be honest, there's a lot more places you could go to that are worse than studying medicine in the Bahamas, right? So, and Dr. Wells, do you have anything to add to that as well?
I think that's great. And I would describe Freeport, Grand Bahama, as a sleepy town, right? And that's really great if your primary job is to study medicine, right? So it's a great place to be. And the proximity to the US is quite useful, particularly for students who want to come back home for events, weddings, birthday parties, any of those sorts of things. They are able to do that with relative ease, particularly compared to other places in the Caribbean.
Great, awesome. Why don't we pause on that, because where can you guys fly? What are kind of like some easy ways to get to New Orleans or something like that from your campus?
Yes, so we're just a 22-minute flight from Miami or Fort Lauderdale. So if you fly into either of those places, you can get to Freeport in half an hour.
Awesome, great. And then you can fly right to New Orleans from one of those cities. That's perfect. So, okay. And then, you'd mentioned the smaller class size, which obviously there's a lot of benefits of that. How does that play into the curriculum, as he was mentioning there? And what's the kind of the mindset with the smaller class size?
Sure. So I might have to apologize in advance. I absolutely love our curriculum. So I could go on and on about it for days. So if you need to cut me off, it's okay.
Yeah, we don't have days, but we'll give you some minutes.
So we have a very intentional, highly integrated curriculum. And so what that means is you won't see courses like biochemistry and microbiology and pathology. Rather, our courses are built around patients, right? So a patient will present with a certain condition or a presentation. And then the students work with interdisciplinary faculty to address what's going on. So there's always a clinician in the room and at least a basic scientist or two. And they look at the patient and what's happening with the patient and learn the basic science around that and the clinical skills related to that. So like, for example, there's a cardio unit. So most of the cases you're going to see are related to the heart, right? So they'll have multiple disciplines present in the room while there's a patient presentation of a heart condition. And then later in the afternoon, the students will go into their clinical skills course and they'll listen to the heart. So they'll listen to normal sounds or abnormal sounds. So it's highly integrated. And the reason it's highly integrated is the old gorge and purge model, it doesn't work. So everybody on this call probably remembers cramming for some exam, right?
Right.
And chances are, if you make it to medical school, you were probably pretty good at that, right? Because you scored well on the exams. But if I were to give you the exam today, chances are you won't have retained that information that you gorged and purged. But when you learn in an integrated way, learning is hard. It's like planting a hook in your brain, right? So you plant these hooks, and what has happened historically is you'll plant a biochemistry hook and a micro hook, and then you'll hang facts on them. So pretty soon you have these long tendrils, and occasionally they'll interact, right? And that's the aha moment in learning. And teachers go, yay, I got the aha moment. But the problem with that is medicine, the amount of information in medicine doubles every 70 days now, right?
Oh.
So when more information comes available and those tendrils break, right, you don't have any of the connections. But when you learn in a very integrated way, so you plant these hooks and you build a tapestry all the way down, anytime there's new information, you might replace it, you might get a hole, but the context is still there. So you learn why you're learning medicine. You don't just memorize factoids. And so then what happens is when students get ready to study for like big examinations or for step one, they understand conceptually what's going on, not just a series of facts that they've got to be able to spit out. So in my opinion, they become better doctors, and they certainly integrate the information and they understand it and they can retrieve it much more easily. I mean, think about something that you really understand, you know how it works. If something changes, you can easily figure out what you're missing. But if you've just memorized something, you memorize the alphabet and they throw in another letter, you're like, I don't know what it is, right? What is that?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So, we do that intentionally.
I'm just curious about, I'm sure that for most students, this is a new way of learning for them. What's the reaction that you see from the students?
Yeah, so the reaction from the students is fantastic. They like learning it. Most of them have not learned medicine before. So it's for them, they think that's how you learn. The best, I think, endorsement has been faculty who come to either observe or participate. You know, medical school is really not fun. Most people don't want to do it again. So when I have faculty say to me, wow, I'd love to go back to medical school like this, I know that they really like it, because no one really wants to go back to medical school. And it's interesting because many places in the US are actually moving towards this model, right? But just like any large institution that exists, sometimes it's difficult to change those things, those artifacts that exist. Like some of the artifacts might be just the space you have, right? Or it might be the curriculum, or it might be the mindset of the faculty. Because we are a new school, we were able to design this. First of all, we handpicked the faculty we wanted to create the curriculum. Then we built a building around our curriculum, right? So we've had the benefit of having a blank canvas, if you will, on which to paint. So I think all of the pieces have worked out very well. The students are happy. The faculty love it. And I think there are many faculty who would love to join our team.
Awesome. Yeah.
For this. Yeah.
And you get to be in the Bahamas.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's not much. I mean, there's a whole lot to love about it.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, that's wonderful. Sounds like, you guys really working hard to set them up for success. Obviously, you guys, have, as you mentioned, they have these first 6 classes come in, and you talked about the clinicals, being in the US, and I know there's maybe hasn't happened yet and whatnot, but what could that look like, or what is it going to look like for these students to be doing their clinical rotations in the US? Like where could they be, and what will that look like for those students?
Brad, do you want me to take this, or I feel like I'm talking all the time? Do you want to see?
Please do. Well,
I have some for Brad later. So yeah.
Okay, all right.
Go ahead, Dr. Wilson.
All right. I don't want to monopolize the time, but I do get really excited. So our first group of clinical students will start this October, November, and they will go to St. Anthony Hospital in Chicago. And so the way we'll call it the clerkship phase of the curriculum works. So the first 5 semesters or 20 months happens in Freeport, and that's largely aligned with the basic science and basic clinical skills. And then the clinical part happens in 2 phases, kind of. There's the 48 weeks of required clerkships. So there's 12 weeks of surgery, 12 weeks of internal medicine, and then 6 weeks of family medicine, peds, OBGYN, and psychiatry. And then followed by 4 weeks of emergency medicine or critical care or urgent care, 4 weeks of a sub-I, generally in medicine or peds, and then 19 weeks of electives. So our core clerkships, those 48 weeks, the first group of students will go to St. Anthony Hospital. We have already signed affiliation agreements with hospital systems in Florida. We're this close to signing one with California. We're working out the details now. And we have some other hospital systems that we're looking at in New Jersey and New York. So we expect to have clerkships in several places around the United States, and then electives can happen really anywhere around the world.
Awesome. Great. No, that's great to hear. And I'm sure you guys are excited for this next month, a lot of work, but that's awesome. So yeah, Brad, we'll rope you in here. So let's say someone's convinced here, they're excited about y'all's school. What is it going to look like for them to be an applicant at WASUM?
Yeah, we really make it convenient for applicants. First off, there is no application fee. And obviously with the rising cost of application fees, that should be kind of a breath of fresh air to your students. So it'll cost them nothing to apply. Most of your students that are going to be applying to U.S. medical schools will be using AMCAS or ACOMA. So you may have some students that are from Texas, doing the TAMSIS application. They can use any of those, and all they do is just download the PDF and upload it right into our website. So it's very simple. They can also create our online application if they're not planning on applying to those schools. We just try to make it easier since they've already filled these out. Once they submit that, it'll come to our admissions team. We'll review it for an interview. If granted, the interview will take place virtually. It's usually 40 to 60 minutes. The nice thing is, though, we're able to get your students a decision in 2 weeks. So it is a very quick turnaround time. And we also offer all accepted students receive first-term scholarships to our medical school. So it's guaranteed. So they come to WASUM and they're like, you know what, this is not for me. Obviously, they have an option; they could leave and find another spot. Thankfully, it hasn't happened.
One does.
Yet. I'm not naive to think at some point in our history it won't. But I think when your students start looking at options other than U.S. schools, this helps to relieve maybe some hesitations or concerns. And then we also do, which is very cool, we have started sponsoring accepted student cruises. So we actually will invite your students, we sponsor it, and it leaves from West Palm Beach, Florida. We bring them to campus and they get to meet fellow colleagues and administration and Dr. Wales and our staff, and they come to the campus and they'll see housing and really Freeport. They'll sit in a class with Dr. Selfridge. They will meet current students. I mean, they will have a great idea if this is the right fit for them, obviously before they start classes. So we really try to make this admissions process fun, quick for them, and it's relatively an easy process.
What are y'all looking for? So what, those students that you've accepted in these 6 classes, what stood out? Obviously a lot of pre-med students, need good grades, XYZ, but what really is it that students should prepare for to be accepted at the school?
Yeah, I think obviously, and I know it's an obvious question, but some students don't really, I'm sure you guys have conversations with them about this all the time, is be able to explain why they want to do this, right? Like, obviously they didn't just wake up one morning and decide they wanted to be a physician. Usually it's happened through one big event or series of events over time that has kind of pushed them into this career. Be able to explain that. And I always tell students, don't just say you like to help people, right? Because you don't have to be a physician to help people. There's got to be more to it than that. So to be able to explain that, obviously I'm looking for their reasoning for why they want to serve others and why that's important to them. We take a holistic review here, and I know that term gets thrown around a lot, but what does that really mean? For us, we interview a lot of our applicants. I think that is really the only true way of getting to know somebody, whether they're going to be a good fit for you, and you're going to be a good fit for them. And so we look at the student's personality. We look at their clinically relevant experience. I ask them questions about what they've done and maybe what lessons they've learned from these experiences and how they're going to improve patient care. I look at their GPA trends. We'll look at obviously their overall and their science prereqs, but also any advanced bio or advanced chemistry, their MCAT trend. We really look at everything we possibly can to make a decision whether this person is going to be a good fit here. And I think lastly, we just talked about is not only are they a good fit for us, but are we a good fit for them too? And I think it's got to be a mutual conversation to identify that. And this is why these interviews are really important.
Right. What are the minimum bare bones requirements to be eligible to be accepted and matriculate?
Well, obviously you have to have your general, you have to have your bachelor's degree, you have to have your MCAT, you have to have clinically relevant experience. Our averages, and obviously this is going to probably change because we still are a newer school, but I would say right now they're about a 3.3 to 3.4 GPA and the mid 490s for the MCAT. So that's kind of what we're looking at for current accepted students in our medical school.
And are there certain classes they have to have specifically? Like, what are those?
So the requirements are 2 semesters of English or writing intensive course. one semester of humanities or social science, one semester of math, which is preferred calc or stats, 2 semesters of biology with lab, 2 semesters with gen chem with lab, 2 semesters with organic chemistry with lab, or they can take a biochem that would satisfy for organic chemistry too. And then we require only 1 semester of physics with lab. I know some schools will require 2, but we do require 1. And those are our prereqs. Those are the required courses that you're going to need to take, which I'm assuming most of your students, if they're in a pre-health major, are gonna have those.
Right, absolutely. Well, great. And obviously we have some non-traditional students that come back and they want to build a list. So good. Well, yeah, I think we covered a lot of the, we could talk all day. We're going to connect them to you all. I do want to just give you some space to say, is there anything else that maybe you were itching to say about your school that you haven't had a chance to say that yet? Like, what are you proud of? What are you excited about the school?
Yeah, Dr. Ills, you want to go first? Because I can also talk about this.
Yeah, I could talk a long time. I think that what I'd like to say to students in particular is I've already said, medical school's hard. There's no question about it. And there are going to be days that are really rough. There are going to be weeks that are rough, and there are going to be months and maybe even semesters or years that will be rough as students. So as you're looking at medical schools, make sure you pick a place where you feel supported and cared about, right? Because you're going to need people around you during those times to sort of lift you up, but also be prepared to be one of the lifters for other people when they need it. So that's one of the things we really look for in all of our faculty, in all of our staff, and all of our students. We work very hard at creating a culture of care because we believe that if we're going to produce physicians who are going to go out and care for people, they need to also be cared for themselves, right? So that's what I would leave your students with, and that is make sure that wherever you end up going to medical school, that when you are on that campus, you feel like you fit, that you're going to get the support and the care you need, and that you can give it to others. Don't go to a medical school because of the name or the reputation or some other reason. Go because it's a good place for you to spend 4 pretty intense years. That's what I'd say.
Absolutely. Awesome. And Brad, do you want to share anything else?
Yeah, I think I'm just proud of just how our medical schools came together. I have like Dr. Wills, I've worked in a couple of previous medical schools, and the level of support that our students get here is just amazing. Like it's I've never been around a group of faculty that have an open door policy that you can walk in to get help whenever you want. That everybody knows your name, or for students, that you're a small fish in a small pond versus a small fish in a big pond, and you're not just a number. And I think these students that come here really appreciate that. And I always ask students, and I think the biggest testament is, if you were to do it all over again, would you choose to come to WASUM? And I have yet to have a student that says no. So I think right now we're doing well for our medical students, and so that's what I'm most proud of.
Awesome, right?
And
Sorry.
sorry, Dr. Wells, go ahead.
No, I was interrupting you, Brad. I don't mean to. I'm so excited. I have one other thing I want to share. So I'll let you.
Please go ahead.
Well, one thing that I think one of the questions students often ask us, because we're a new medical school, is what about the match? How is that going to work? And what I would say to you is, our students haven't gone through the match yet, obviously, because we're a brand new school. But we have people, while we're a new school, the people here are not new at medical school, right? We've been here a very long time. So Dr. Joe Flaherty is our president. He was the dean at Illinois, which is the 2nd largest medical school in the US, and also the dean and chancellor at Ross. And we've had other people. So one day when we were having dinner, on the back of a napkin, we started writing down the number of students that we were responsible for matching at the different institutions that we've been at. And our small group of faculty were responsible for 25,000 practicing physicians. So anyone worried that, oh, wow, this is a new medical school, it is a new medical school, but we're not new. And we've been doing this for a while, a very long while, and kind of know what we're doing. And I'm really excited about our reputation as a school is built on the performance of our students. I've been at very large institutions before where, if you knew the bell-shaped curve, you knew the people who were doing really great, and you knew the people who were struggling. But the ones in the middle kind of just made it through, right? That doesn't happen at our school. And so what I can guarantee is everybody who comes through this school will get personalized attention from day one all the way through the match. We actually start our career advising the very first week of medical school, where we get students ready, have them start thinking about their CV, what they're interested in. They go through careers in medicine, all to build up to the match. Because no one goes to medical school just to end at medical school. You go to medical school to then go on to residency. Right? And so I would say to anyone listening, if you're worried about that, I hope this alleviates some of those concerns. We know what we're doing, and we plan to help you.
Great. Well, Robbie, did you want to ask anything else?
Well, I hope I'm not putting you on the spot. I think this is, but Dr. Wales, so you've been in a U.S. medical school, you've done the international schools, and sometimes students are a little confused about, what's the difference. So what would you tell a student who's maybe, wondering or questioning those types of things about going to an international school?
Yeah, I would tell you exactly what I would tell my own child. And that is, if you get into a U.S. medical school, the path is easier. Like a U.S. MD program is easier simply because there is sometimes a stigma around being in a Caribbean school, right? But I would say if your ultimate goal is to be a physician, this is another path, right? There was a time when, and there are some students who would prefer to be an MD versus a DO, right? Some students don't care, others do. So if you really want to be an MD and are not able to get into a U.S. medical school, a U.S. MD program, we are a great option because we will get you there. You will graduate from medical school. You will go to residency in the U.S. right next to people who went to U.S. medical schools. And then as soon as you become practicing physicians, that all melts away. No one,
Nobody cares.
People care about your specialty. They don't care about where you went to medical school. So I would say that honestly, that it's easier, that the pathway is easier for an MD inside the U.S. But we're barely outside the U.S. in Freeport, Grand Bahama, and we are a pathway to becoming a practicing physician. Did that answer your question?
Yeah,
is that what you were looking for?
Perfect, exactly. So
well, great. Well, this is a taste, right? We can't capture it all. We can't spend days here on the podcast. But if students want to know more, if they want to hear from you guys, connect with you, why don't you each just share a way for them to connect with you guys?
Yeah, so a good way if your students ever want more information, if they go to our website, which is www.wasum.education, and education is all spelled out, they'll be able to log on. We have a virtual information session this upcoming Wednesday, next week, September 20th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard. But if they can't make that one, we always post where we're going to be for information sessions. They can join us virtually. And then if they would like to contact myself, they can email me, which is my email is bschmidt, which is SCHMIDT at wasum.education, and WASUM is WAUSM _education, and education is all spelled out.
And my email address, if folks want to reach out to me, is PWALES@WAUSM.education, all spelled out. And I'll tell you, I'm not an admissions or salesperson or anything. My job in life, my mission in life is to create more physicians, more great physicians, to take care of people I love and care about. So if your students have any questions about medical schools, not just about WASUM, I'm always happy to answer them if I can. Now, if I get 4 million questions, it might take me a day or two to answer, but I'm always happy to help students who are trying to figure out where they want to land in life.
Awesome. Well, yeah, and we'll try to get those email addresses, maybe posted on the video for them. But just want to say thank you again. We obviously couldn't cover it all, but it was a great, introduction to your school, and hopefully some students can get connected to you. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you
both. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you guys. This was fun. I appreciate it.
And good luck with podcast number 22.
Thank you.